Well, hello there.
Hi, Dennis.
I have heard so much about you, and I'm pretty sure you've probably heard so much about me too
Of
as
course,
well.
of course.
How you doing?
Good. How are your
You and
brothers?
Julie Favor.
She's the skinnier one.
But,
That's what I always say.
y'all, the features in you guys' face and everything, y'all favor tremendously.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think, did I ever know you in Kenton, Tennessee, whenever y'all was living
You
over
know,
there?
you weren't around when we were all down there.
I don't
which
think
was
I
kinda
was.
Funny. Yeah.
Well, I was probably already either living in Milan,
Sorry, my
Tennessee,
dogs are gonna-
or Jackson, Tennessee,
rats,
one
so
or
they
the
have to
other.
bark.
But I got to meet Mark. He seems like a real cool guy.
Oh, yeah. He's good. He's great. He's been
Yeah.
taking care of me for longer than my mom has now. So, which is
Well, I
good.
just got through talking to her less than 10 minutes ago, and she's done caught the croup or something.
That's what she said. Yeah, she messaged me a little bit
She's
ago.
fixing to have to go to the doctor or something because she's got something really, really bad.
Probably.
But there's so much stuff
I
going
think
on.
because those years she spent smoking, if she gets anything that's chest congestion.
Well, not only that, but if she's working with the public, she's substance
Yeah.
of getting anything. You know,
Yeah.
there's like 5 different viruses right now.
Right
that's-
now,
that's
yeah.
floating around,
Yeah.
and one of them's chicken flu. It's
Oh,
done, it's done already killed a bunch of chicken. Killed not only chickens, but
Yeah.
it's starting to kill people too. Did you know that down in Alabama, there's already had human life to die with chicken
I
flu.
wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't doubt it.
So there's lots of strange things going on right now pertaining to our weather and
That's
the
why
atmosphere
we like
and everything.
staying out. He works from home, so everything he's doing is just online. And,
But didn't he used to be a principal or something?
no, he was a director of IT, so anything with computers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he pretty much can do it all.
So he's probably an admirer of Elon Musk then.
Of course, most of us like it. Hopefully, you're a Trump supporter.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
Hopefully.
no doubt, no doubt. I think it's went almost too far for
I think
for
our
reckoning.
options. Yeah, I think
I
so too.
think the only way to really do it is to shut it down and reboot it and start it all over again, kind of like
Yep.
the little farmer that planted the crop.
100%.
And then he looked back and didn't see but about half of a stand, and then decided, well, you know what? I got 2 options. I can either keep what I got, or disc it all under and replant again and hope for the best.
Exactly.
That's basically where
That's
we're
where
at
we're
as a
at.
country, and I hate to say that, but
No,
it is.
it's so divided. It's a problem.
Now, you're younger than Julie or older than Julie?
I'm younger. Yeah.
You're the youngest one.
Yep. I'm the youngest. I'm the baby.
Was you even in existences whenever your mother and Julie lived over there in Kenton? I know Johnny was living, and
Julie didn't ever come down. She hasn't left California since we moved.
No, what I'm saying is back years and years ago.
Oh, when we.
In Kenton, Tennessee.
I was born
over
in
there.
Memphis. So
Yeah.
whenever my mom moved back to, I never got to meet
Wow, that
any of
makes you a
y'all.
Memphis Belle, don't it?
Yeah, right. I never got to meet any of y'all. She moved once. My dad
How
and
about
her.
my mother? You never get. Well,
I
you
know-
were so young.
I
you
got
were so
to
young.
know. I got to know Mama Lucy after we moved back.
Oh, did you?
But before that, I had no memory of any of you guys. I was
Wow.
just 2 when we left.
Did you know that your grandfather, which was Charles Jordan?
Yeah, he's a great guy. I got to meet him when I was 14.
Okay.
Yeah.
His brother is still living less than 5 miles from here.
I got to meet Uncle Bob.
No, Uncle Bill.
Oh, Uncle Bill. Okay.
Uncle Bill.
Uncle Bob
Uncle
passed,
Bob
didn't he?
is my dad.
Yeah, I got to meet.
That's
Well, I
my
hung
dad.
out at his place with
Yeah,
Danny and
yeah.
David.
Yeah.
And they took me out to his property there
Right,
for a
right,
while.
right.
Yeah, they
Down,
were
down,
always.
down in the bottoms.
Yeah, just
Where
out in the sticks.
mosquito fence.
Yeah.
But how old was you whenever all that?
When I was when Mom was back in Tennessee when I was born, we left up into Wisconsin, and that's where my dad left us, and I was only 2 when he left. So I don't remember any of
So
y'all
how
until I
old
came
you?
back.
How old was you whenever y'all come back to
Yeah,
Kenton?
I was 14.
You was 14.
Yep. So I got to meet my grandma. I got to meet Mama Lucy,
Good for
Danny,
you.
David.
Good for you.
Unfortunately, Aunt Betty Joyce wasn't there. So I've just got to hear the stories. But honestly, our family does not talk much about our history.
No, they don't.
And I've had to get online and figure out my dad left, so we didn't know anything about him.
Right.
So I've had to get on Ancestry and do the digging.
Well,
Because there's a rumor that supposedly we have Cherokee Indian in our bloodline.
We do.
See? And I'm like, I got to do the blood test then.
Well, see, we not only have Cherokee through the Jordan bloodline, but we also have Cherokee in the Jackson bloodline off of the Davis side.
Okay.
So I've got it 2 ways.
Yeah.
And really and truly, if the truth be known, I think that had a disturbance with so many people not being able to control their anger management issues pertaining to the bloodline, not lining up like pertaining to the DNA. And I think it had something to do with a great deal of people, because at that time they was going through the mix and mingle way back when, and of course by the time it gets up to this far, who knows where it stands.
Yeah.
You know, because this is a melting pot anyway.
It is.
This
There's
is a melting pot anyway.
I will tell you, when I went through the Jordan line, I found one piece in there that was hard to trace back.
Okay.
And I was like, see, that could have been some of that, because are the Indians going to keep all their birth records like we do? No, they just had their babies on reservations or wherever they stayed.
Not only that, but if our parents, not our parents, but our great-great-great-parents would have known better, they could have got us on the roll call, and the day me and you and our whole family would have been taken care of. You know that.
Yep.
You know that. And, and as far as when it comes to the depression with the Indian cultures all over America, it's one of the worst.
It is.
Alcoholism, abuse.
We were up in Alaska for years, and I tell you, the natives up there,
yeah,
they're just they literally find because it gets so cold.
And the suicide rate up there is extremely high, isn't it? Extremely high.
And they leave the whole got something in my eyeball. But they leave the public entryways open, like Arctic entryways, so that people don't freeze in case they get stuck outside.
Right.
They're just public places for the Indians.
Did you go on the reservation anytime?
We haven't been on one since we've been probably through Arizona. Okay. We went through them.
Okay, how long did you stay up in Alaska?
Oh, we were up there the first time. We went out and we did the whole bush lifestyle. That was when I was 18.
Okay.
And we stayed out there for 2 years. Okay. And then that's when our first
child... You guys have really been floating around, because at one time you was in Washington State.
Oh, yeah.
At one time you was, I think, back in Wisconsin or Illinois or somewhere up in that area. But you didn't stay there long, but along with Alaska and going to Arizona, I don't know where else you've been in between there.
Because
y'all have really been adventurous.
We have.
I mean, adventurous.
We have been to almost every state, minus a little bit of the East Coast side.
Really?
Yeah, and our kids, we made it. It's funny because 2 of our boys are in the military.
Okay.
So, and they said it's funny because they've actually moved more with their parents than they have while they're in the military. And they get it all the time. They're like, my God, this is like, I miss moving places.
It's a beautiful country, isn't it?
It is. I think
it's a really beautiful country, and you got so many different mixed cultures, regardless whether you're in Miami or you're in New York or in Chicago where the Dagos are, or you're out west. I mean, it's a mixed culture, isn't it?
No, if you look at like how long our lifespans are. I mean, the average, man and woman doesn't live. We'd be lucky if we make it to 100. Yeah, we're lucky.
Oh yeah.
And as short of a life as we can have, how big this world can seem, but yet so small at the same time.
But you do recognize that they buried a whole lot of that history from us when we was going to school, and they didn't want us to know the trueness about how that our people was basically almost genocide.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, we talk about the genocide. We talk about the genocide of the Jews all the time, pertaining to how horrible it was, pertaining to the Nazism during that reign. And it was bad. But I got news for them. It was just as bad right here.
Oh yeah.
Whenever you're putting smallpox and the Trail of Tears with what was it, Andrew Jackson? Yep. Whenever you're doing all that stuff to people.
Yep.
But then again, look at how the Europeans come over here, Angela, and basically looked at the black man. Towards the black man, literally, those people thought that they was either an ape or a monkey, or didn't have the same type of genealogy that we have as far as being a human.
No,
how can anybody think that or do that?
Yeah, no, they're still human. Don't get me wrong. I feel like we've definitely split into.
Well, if the truth be known, they was probably here before we was. I think the longest race is somewhere in Africa, isn't it?
It is. They say that. I mean, if you look back,
and of course,
some of that's speculation.
And of course, where it's the hottest climate, I'm pretty sure that had a big effect on their color, their color pigment. Don't
you?
Yep. But in actuality, what difference does it make what color suntan we have? We're all the same.
Still, we might be a slightly different type of human.
Well, there may be some characteristics different.
Yeah, but still, I mean, Asians are smaller naturally,
That's right.
Mexican people tend to be a little darker because of their climates too.
There you go.
But yeah, we're all human. And to me, I am blind to color. If you're an asshole, I ain't gonna like you.
Amen.
Plain and simple.
Amen.
But if you're a good-natured person, and there's something about you I just like, I don't care if you're purple.
Yeah, absolutely. Or you got your hair purple or green or whatever, yellow, whatever, orange or whatever. I just got through having my dog neutered a while ago. They told me that I could pick him up anytime after 2:30.
Are you going to this vet here?
Do I know?
The one the vet that's
No, I'm going not on this road right here. I'm going to the one in behind Lowe's. It's called
what's with mine?
Mineral Veterinarian System.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We've been going to this one that's closest to us. I think it's just out, just in Paris.
It's
or
the
right
one
there.
that's got the little monkey, the little dog with a bone or something in it right out front.
I think so. My husband's taking ours.
Man, he's getting that Jake back, ain't he?
Oh. Oh boy. But yeah, our babies, they've been going to that one, and we just got a new puppy.
Did you
so
really?
Yeah, so we've got.
Well, I haven't had mine, but maybe 5 or 6 weeks. It's a Great Pyrenees mixed with a full-blooded white German Shepherd.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, and it's he's about 7 weeks old. 7 months old, and he's already basically almost 80 pounds.
Yeah,
and
she's almost. She's 5 months now. She'll
Oh.
be 6 months soon. But yeah, she's tiny. Because we got small breeds.
I got that. Well,
yeah.
You live in a smaller space.
Yeah,
right?
we need that. We miss the big old dog.
Right.
We used to have some Dobermans when we were up in Washington.
Did
but
you?
Yeah, boy, they're big
But anyways,
boys.
one of his testicles was inside of his belly, and I didn't know with bigger male dogs that's common.
Yep.
And every now and then he would yelp. And I know that probably had something to do with what was going on down there.
Yeah, if they don't drop sometimes.
Yeah,
They get stuck.
Yeah. So at 7 months old, I thought, you know what, I need to go ahead and do this,
Just
get it over with before he gets too old.
Yep, then it'll be harder.
And plus, with me living out in the country, you never know whenever there's a female dog, it's going to wind up getting in heat. Next thing you know, they roam off, and you can't control them because their hormones don't went freaking crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Where are you staying at? You still here in Tennessee?
Yes, absolutely.
Are you?
I'm less than 45 miles from here.
I know Carrie's down in Kenton still,
yeah.
and I heard Mom just told me that Shane sold Grandma and Grandpa's trailer.
Yeah.
So, and I was surprised about that, but man,
Shane done what now? Shane and Carrie sold.
Well, not Carrie, but Shane. I guess it was left up to Shane, but he sold Grandma and Grandpa Jordan's trailer.
He did.
He did.
Know that.
Yeah, Carrie was pretty sad about it because it's where his parents lived. So he was pretty upset about it. But
I didn't know nothing about that. When did that come about? Just recently?
That's what Mom said. You'll have to ask her. She probably knows more about it. But she just got a letter.
Do you by chance have any pictures of the family going way back pertaining to Charles and Patsy? And
Mom does. She's got lots.
Does she really?
Yeah. It's bad because she doesn't talk to us much about our family. I don't know much about you guys at all.
Well, the thing about it is, whenever Charlie got involved in doing what he done, which would be Uncle Bill's brother that lives less than 5 miles from here, that's still living at 90, soon to be 93 years old.
Good for him.
Okay. But whenever Charlie got in that trouble that he got into up in Chicago, it kind of put a damper on the whole family. As a matter of fact, it was Miss Lucille that set all us boys down whenever that occurred, because he basically got busted right there in Kenton. Did you know that?
Did he?
In his hometown where he was raised up at all his life, knowed everybody.
For all the auto stuff?
And everybody knowed us. Well, not just that, but the fact that he was growed up there. I mean, everybody knowed everybody. Small town, small one horse little community like.
Oh, yeah.
And Mama Lucy set us all down. She said, well, it won't never be the same. And we kind of looked at her and said, what are you talking about, Mama Lucy?
Yeah.
She goes, well, since this happened to Charles, they're going to know that we're associated with the family, and they'll
treat you that way.
They'll treat you that way around here.
That's truth.
And you know what? They did.
They did.
They sure did. From then on, we was looked down upon like we committed the same crime that he committed. Yeah, but that's how they are down here in the South. They'll judge you off your relatives.
Oh, yeah.
In other words, if you had a drunk dad, odds are you're going to be a drunk. You know what I'm saying? If your mother was a no guy,
it doesn't matter if you go to
they're
church
going to judge you the
Sunday,
same way. Yeah,
and you're a perfect citizen, and you've been in that community, helping out, volunteering, doing everything as kind as can be. Right. They'll still be like, "Oh, you're a Jordan."
Yeah,
and they'll be like, "Well,"
and they automatically stereotype you.
Yeah. Instantly. That's funny because when I was down there, I didn't ever get the impression that our family had a bad name. But I don't know much of the
Well,
history.
it's not so much now with the younger crowd coming in,
it's
but
all...
the ones that was originally around there,
Yeah.
it put a bad taste in their mouth. But I want to talk about your sister a little bit. You know what? I loved Lewis, and I loved Nicole. I thought that she was just a little knockout at her age.
She's beautiful.
At her age,
she is.
And I stayed down there with your sister for about a month. And once I realized that, you know what, I might be able to fit in here, I went ahead and got a job there in Stockton, which wasn't but about maybe 30 miles from where Julie was living. And between Stockton and Lodi, there was a woman over there that put up a rent sign, and I seen it, and I thought, well, you know what, it ain't gonna hurt to go up there and try to get it. First I got the apartment. I got the apartment first, and then I got my job.
Yeah.
That way I know everything was set. And basically, I got them all set at the same time.
Yeah.
You know. But Miss Gloria, she was a Mexican. Of course, California's full of Mexicans.
Of course, yeah. You might as well just call it the other part of Mexico.
Oh, yeah. And whenever I went in there to inquire about the property to rent, first thing she wanted to do was take me inside the house and show me her gallery. She had a gallery in there, a picture gallery of her sons and her son-in-law and everybody.
Oh, okay.
Come to find out, her son was, well, first of all, she owned one of the largest nightclubs in Northern California at one time.
Wow.
Yep.
Yep.
Her son in that same county was a sheriff at that time. She had a son-in-law that was a U.S. Marshal. That worked for the bigwigs up in Washington.
Boy.
So she wanted to show me all these pictures, and I'm seeing her son-in-law standing right there beside the Bush family, you know, side by side, and all this other stuff. And all of a sudden, this dude comes out of the top, because it was a two-story house. And come to find out, she was using it for a rental. She was renting each room for like $150 a room. And everybody on the downstairs occupied everything downstairs, and everybody on the upstairs occupied everything upstairs. I've lived in places like that.
Yes.
Down in Florida and stuff.
Oh yeah.
You know, just it's better than a hotel for sure.
Sure.
And it's a little cheaper than in-town suites.
It is. No, it is.
In-town suites now eat you alive. You know
they
what I'm
will.
saying? They're probably a good in-town suite now probably be over $1,200 a month.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Well over.
Rent and
well
housing
over.
is a problem in our country.
Yes, it is.
Good luck finding it. This has actually been pretty nice.
So anyways, this dude overheard me and her talking where I was from, and all of a sudden he comes down from the top of the stairs. He goes, "Where did you say you was from?" I said, "Up around Martin, Tennessee." He goes, "Man, I used to hang around up there." He said, "I was with the motorcycle gang just north of you over there in Kentucky." And he mentioned the name of the gang and everything. I think it was just a motorcycle group.
Okay.
And I recognized it, you know, and everything,
Sure.
but I didn't put two and two together, because at that time I was just getting familiarized with her.
Right.
Well, I went ahead and laid the cash down, put down the deposit, had to sign off on a little thing.
Sure.
And I was working. I'd already stayed in that apartment either one night or two, I can't remember. But it was basically a swimming pool converted over to an apartment. That the pool was still there, but they renovated the swimming area to where you could live in it. But I could literally see the mountains, the mountain range.
Yep.
I could literally see that from the back of my house right there where I was renting. And I thought, you know what, this is going to be cool to stay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All right, well, whenever I got my job there in Stockton, they went ahead and done a criminal background check on me pertaining to the state of California. And of course, it showed up 0-0, because I ain't never really lived in California for a long distance of time, and I've never worked there.
Sure.
So obviously, I've never gotten in trouble there.
Not any crimes, right?
You know, I did live there temporarily in 1982, down around Thousand Oaks, California, pretty close to LA. It didn't get burnt, fortunately, because of this big burn, but it was right there at it. It was within 30, 35, 40 miles right there. Matter of fact, Thousand Oaks is where they put the Reagan Library at. You familiar with that?
Oh, yes, yeah. Well, Mom took us out there once
So
we
in
were little,
in 1982, I mean, a country boy that had never hardly been out of Weakley County, to me, that was a big thing for me to go all the way out there and stay out there for 3 or 4 months.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that was a big deal for me.
It is, yeah. And it was definitely a different style of
living.
living.
And of course, my cousin, she got smart and working for Semo Valley.
Okay.
That's where she made all her money at and started investing in it and drugstores and all of the kind of stuff. And her husband, he was basically a troubleshooter that went into a factory and basically shaved here, done this, done that, and when it's all said and done with, he saved him X amount of dollars, and plus at the end of the year, made him a lot of money. He got a certain percentage off of that, so he was making some good money too. I'll put it this way: they had a 2-story house and a swimming pool too in 1982.
Yeah, I'm sure.
In 1982.
Yeah, which is not heard of thing.
Yeah, and that house at that time I think was worth about 300, maybe 350. That same house today would probably be well over $1 million.
Yeah.
Well over $1 million.
Easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure was.
Anything in California now.
But I got the, I'm like you. I went from place to place.
Yeah.
And I've seen different cultures and different things.
When were you out by my sister?
And America is a beautiful, beautiful place. About your sister, whenever I wound up renting from Miss Gloria, the guy that I was working for wound up doing a national background check on me for some reason, and all that stuff come up pertaining to me going out to Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and basically being a investigator, a journalist investigator, and basically found out the truth that there was a major cover-up out there pertaining to the Oklahoma bombing that they wasn't revealing to the people. That they wasn't revealing to the people.
No,
did you know that stain is still?
I love that Trump's dropping stuff now.
Did you know that stain is still on my record to this day? You can look up Dennis James, Shuby Jackson, and I guarantee you'll still see the exact same thing typed up. Even though it was their prosecuting attorney that realized that they didn't have nothing on me after I'd hired an attorney and went to court like 5 or 6 times, and finally they realized that I wasn't going to plead guilty to their stupid game, and they throwed it out.
Yep.
In other words, they didn't have the leg stand on because I never did threaten that lieutenant to begin with.
Of course not.
But they said that I did.
Yeah.
And it's still on there as a bad image.
Of course. And it'll never go away. My husband was just talking about this actually. Mark said the other day, he's like, our justice system, and don't get me wrong, when he was younger, he's got a couple things too. Young boys, what are you gonna do?
We all do.
Right. But
and none of it's perfect.
Nothing horrible.
None
right?
of it's perfect.
So
didn't kill nobody or nothing.
No. Like minor theft and something else. So
misdemeanor stuff.
Yeah. So and he was one of those that he believes that the justice system should be fair. If you went to jail and you did your time for a crime, let's just say, right?
They're supposed to.
It's not.
They're supposed to put it to the side as if you never committed a crime.
Exactly.
And they're supposed to treat you
not.
just as fairly as the old Joe down the road that had never gotten caught doing nothing.
100%. Nope.
I've always
have a record
that will
always be judged.
I've always been told that there's 2 types of people: those that do it and those that get caught doing it.
Exactly.
And in lots of ways, that's the truth.
It's the truth.
Just that they was a little smarter, or they was a little luckier, and they knew the right attorney, and they got it all expunged.
Yeah.
So you'll never know about
Depends on how.
So you'll never know about it. But getting back to Miss Gloria, my boss man, he looked that up and he called me down, and I hadn't worked for him by like 3 days. He said, Dennis, he said, you do incredible work. He said, you're very talented. He said, but we just don't think you're going to fit. He said, besides that, I've done some more, looking here, and you're just not going to. I just rather you just go ahead and get your truck, get your toolbox, get on out of here.
Yep.
Well, that kind of it kind of shattered me a little bit. I thought to myself, well, that cotton picker, here I am making some decent money, and I thought I was going to be able to make a whole fresh start here in California, up here pretty close to where Julie lives.
Sure.
And I went and told Julie about it. She said, Dennis, I don't know. So I went back over there where my apartment was, and I knocked on the door, and I told Miss Gloria, I said, Miss Gloria, there may be a problem here. She goes, what's the problem? I go, well, I just got through basically being terminated from my job, and I don't know for sure if I'm going to have an employment, which means I may not be able to stay here. Oh, no, you're staying. Oh, no, you done signed a contract. You're staying.
Oh, boy.
You're staying.
Yep.
I thought to myself, wow, I'm hung now, ain't I?
Yep.
I'm hung. So I go ahead and go back to my apartment. I take a nap. About that time, I hear a bunch of motorcycles, probably about 12, 15 motorcycles pulling up, all of them driving Harley, Hell's Angels, and Miss Gloria was in the middle of them.
Holy shit.
And they was packing.
Boy.
And they wasn't asking. They was demanding, Mr. Jackson, we want you off of this property right now.
Ooh, boy.
Matter of fact, one of them looked at me, he said, you're one lucky son of a bitch. Like that, looking at me like that. And what it was, Miss Gloria got on the phone. She done contacted her son. or her son-in-law, either or, and they done some typing and some investigating about me. Once more, all that stuff come up
And it all
about
judged you, huh?
Oklahoma, and it freaked them out.
Oh boy.
I said to Miss Gloria, I said, Miss Gloria, I said, you can't do this. Why can't I? I said, because you told me less than 3 hours ago we signed a contract. She said, it's my contract, and if I don't want to honor it, I don't have to. And she throwed the money that she'd given me down in the floorboard, and they literally, them bikers, that biker gang literally went into my apartment, got my microwaves, my coffee makers, all my clothes, all my covers, everything that I had, and basically threw it in the back end of the truck and said, get the hell off the property now.
Oh boy.
So by this time it's already starting to get dark. I get off the property because I really, buddy, you're walking on eggshells here. You better do what they tell you to do. So I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of hard-headed, and as soon as I got off of the property, I made a telephone call to 911.
Uh-huh.
I said, I got a problem out here. You guys mind coming out here? Oh, no. What's going on? So they brought 2 officers out here, and they talked to me for probably about 30, 45 minutes.
Oh, boy.
And they checked my ID and looked at this, and they listened to me and stuff. They go, you just stand right here.
Uh-huh.
Wait right here. Give us just a minute. They went up there and talked to them.
Yeah.
About 15 minutes later, they come back. Both of them come back. They said, Mr. Jackson, if you got any sense, you'll get in your automobile and you'll keep going. You won't turn around.
Oh, boy.
In other words, you don't have a legal leg to stand on.
You
Miss
just-
Gloria's got all kinds of pull here. And the reason why that she shut down the nightclub is because she was taking on too much machine gun fire out in her parking lot because she was burning the candle at both ends. She was not only getting everybody polluted, pretending to being drunk, but she was also with her son, being the sheriff, working with the popo, having people busted. Well, you don't do that.
Nope.
You don't do
You
that.
can't play both sides.
You can't play both sides and
You
think that you're going to get
can't.
away with that for a certain length of time.
Hell no.
Hell no. They let her know real quick, you ain't doing this to us. And they went in there, and I don't think they killed nobody. They may have injured some people, but they busted up her place pretty bad. She sold it. She got out of it. And that's basically...
She'll get what's coming to her. I believe in karma.
That's basically where I got to meet Julie and Julie's ex-husband.
Nick. Yeah, he's a great guy. Yeah.
Nick at the time had some problems.
Yeah.
Nick at the time still's got some problems.
I'm sure.
Pertaining to alcohol.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And,
Even going through the cancer stuff, he still drinks.
And Nick at that time was dating some girl that was associated with the CIA or something to do with the law. Mm-hmm. And once more, Nick knew all about my background too. And he could not accept the fact that not only was I kin to Julie, but I was staying there on her property, living in her garage.
Yeah.
So I had some problems out of him, me and Julie did,
Yeah.
and we basically had to do some investigating work for ourselves and sneak around while she was knocking on his door while I was video cameraing in the bushes towards making sure that he wasn't going to whip up on her, because I think that he abused her. I think he abused her, and if he didn't abuse her physically, I know he abused her emotionally, and I know he abused her down in the lower part of California whenever we was down there doing all them weights and stuff, because she was going across the border and getting all those drugs and stuff that was making steroids and stuff, and he was into all that stuff, and he was dictating her and telling her that if she so much as even gained a half a pound, he was going to whip her ass. So she had a line at the toe and keeping him happy.
Yeah.
Is that not abuse?
Yeah.
Sure it is.
Yeah. No, they both had their problems. I think she liked the lifestyle, and I don't think he was a good fit for her.
Well, she was involved in some sort of club down there, wasn't
he? Well, they were at that they were in the gym. They were both working there. And that's the year we were in Tennessee, and I went out to visit her for a full month.
Okay.
And that's around.
Well, in the meantime, I never did know them whenever they was down there. In the meantime, in that club, somebody wound up getting killed.
Oh,
and she swears in damn that Nick had something to do with it.
I
don't know that he did. I don't know that he did. I don't have no idea.
I know that one time, the day before I had to come back to Tennessee from visiting her, we went down to Mexico to have fun in Tijuana. down.
Okay.
We went down, and of course they're both drinking themselves under the tables, right? And I'm just 14. So, and I'm hanging out with them. We're having a great time, you know, and it's time to go home. We parked the car on this side, and we walked across,
Right.
and we're like, okay,
Right.
time to get back to the car.
Right.
So we come
time to get
through.
back to reality.
Yeah, time to get ready. I got to go to the airport really early.
Right.
So Nick is just, I'm lucky he can drive.
He's a sloppy
Okay.
drunk. He's a sloppy
Really
drunk.
bad. You
And
say
he-
anything wrong.
And I'm telling you right
That's
now,
it.
whenever I was out there in
His fuse is like
in
this.
20 and 12, whenever I was, or not 20 and 12, I think it was 20 and 12, maybe been 20 and 13.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes I get my dates mixed up. I got so many different places that I've been.
Well, he went to jail the night before I had to leave.
Oh, really?
He got so mad somebody cut him off in the car.
Oh, really?
He followed him to their house.
He's a hothead. He's a hothead.
Just instant.
Yeah, he's a hothead.
He got his ass so kicked. It
And,
was horrible.
and me and him almost crossed lines, son. I mean, we got nose to nose about what was going on, and finally Julie got in the middle of it and broke it up. But I thought that I was fixing to have to go down with this
Oh
freaking
yeah,
guy.
yeah. And it wouldn't take
And
too
he was
much.
consistent about it. At first, he acted like
No.
he was a good friend. Oh, you're Julie's
Exactly,
cousin. Oh, you're
exactly.
this.
The party guy.
And then once he started drinking, the
It
real
goes-
deal come out. Oh, yeah, I know about you. You're a fucking known terrorist, and you was over there doing this and doing that and all this bullshit. And Julie's sitting there, and the kids listening to all this shit. Lewis was over there. Nicole was over there. And like I said, I think at that time, whenever I was over there, if somebody would have grabbed up Lewis and taken him to a place like Tennessee, I think to this day Lewis would be fine.
He's a problem.
He would have been, I
Yeah.
think Lewis would have been fine, but because he left the atmosphere of Julie and went directly into that atmosphere of his atmosphere, which was
Yeah.
which was a drunk, it had an effect on him.
100%.
It had a bad effect on her. And I'm so proud of Nicole that she wound up getting
She
out of
left.
there.
She knew
and
to leave.
And getting her with a decent guy, and she got the hell out of there.
Yeah.
She run as fast as she
She
could.
did good for herself.
She did.
I'm proud of her. Her and my oldest are very similar. Joseph's about the same way, and they're both just dead set on making sure that they stick to what they want to do in life.
And
They don't want to get
she's
caught
what,
up.
a RN or LPN or something like that, nurse?
Yeah.
And what does he do?
My oldest is firefighter.
Oh,
so
really?
yeah, he went through just before he
Boy,
left
they
for
got
Marines.
a tough job out there, don't they?
They do. He started out with Wildlands Fire, and then before he left for Marine Corps, and then he went over. He was Marine Corps Fire. He was.
I know a guy from New Mexico that done fighting fires out there in New Mexico, northern New Mexico, up around Taos and different areas up in northern New Mexico, and he swears to damn that all these fires are being set out west and it's being done purposely.
It's purpose, yeah.
He said
It
they're
is.
being done
I wouldn't
purposely.
doubt it. Our government has been doing so. Why leave the borders open like they have?
Right.
There's some other. Why
Right.
let
But
our country become trash?
the judges will let somebody basically get away with a slap on the back of the hand. Somebody that's done a bad
Horrible
crime,
crime.
like rape somebody or get
Yeah.
caught
See,
doing
to me,
or
I'm with the
with a
southern
minor,
states.
pedophiles and stuff like that.
People like
the
that,
judges
just
are
get
let,
rid of 'em.
Yeah, the judges. It's like a evolving door with these freaking criminals in and out, in and out, in and out,
100%.
and it's all turned into a money game.
Yep.
And it's not about justice no more.
Nope.
It's not about justice.
All
It's
about
about the good old American dollar bill.
100%. 100%.
And that's not what our ancestors intended for this country to be like.
Not at all.
Going back to our
It's
ancestors
sad
back
nowadays.
years and years and years
You know,
ago.
I heard a quote just the other day or something. Somebody was talking on TV or something we were watching, but they said it was a good one too about how they want us to be sheep, and you know why?
Oh yeah, we're being led to the slaughter.
You know why not just to be
They
slaughtered.
want to be in control.
Sheep
They're
can't
control
complain.
freaks. Do what?
Sheep can't complain. When you're begging for welfare or when you're
Right,
ass out
right.
of jobs, you're not the one who can stand up to
Right.
government because you just want whatever you can
Well,
get.
I had a preacher.
They want us to be down as
You're
far
right.
as we
You're
can.
right. I had a
because
preacher.
then we have no
Whenever
voice.
I come back to Tennessee in 2014, of all places, I heard a preacher preaching in a revival that basically emphasized our American government being like a drug dealer.
100%.
And whenever he went to talk, and he made a lot of sense on the front end, but as he got deeper into the message, it's like, you know what? That's correct, because a drug dealer will purposely get his clientele hooked on that drug, and then after they get hooked on the drug, then he starts making demands towards the only way I'm going to give you this 8 ball is you got to give me a blowjob, or you got to do this, or you got to do that. And that's basically a control freak. That's a way of controlling people's lives. It's manipulating people's lives.
100%.
And that's basically what our government, not only that, but whenever you get to looking at extortion, this whole freaking country has turned into nothing but an extortionist regarding whether our insurance companies towards walking away, our government doing like they're doing, our courts doing like they're doing, banks or anything. Yeah,
any of it. I mean,
it's
you
corrupt.
might as well just bend over.
It's corrupt.
Yeah,
it's corrupt.
It is to its core, and I really hope Trump
and they want
to
preach at Russia. They want to preach at China towards the oligarchs, and they want to say this and that about them. The bottom line is they're the same way. They just do it in a little bit mysterious way.
100%.
They just don't come out and actually do like Putin. Whenever that war started out in Ukraine 3 years ago, one of the first things that Putin done, he ordered for all his men that if you get shot or wounded to the degree that you can no longer pull your weight, for the next man standing beside of you to shoot him.
Yep.
Now that's hardcore.
That's hardcore. And remember when our country used to have some standard in our military?
Yes, it did.
Yeah, you know what my boys both complain about? Because I have one that's actively still in. He's over in Okinawa, actually.
Is he really?
Yeah, so he got stationed over there.
Is he in the Army or Marines or what?
Marine. I have both Marines.
Both Marines?
Yeah.
Good.
So, but he's, both of them said that they had to recently change. You can no longer call somebody a ma'am or a sir.
What do you call them?
I'm sorry, but you have to call them by their rank now. So master, sergeant,
general, master, sergeant,
whatever, colonel, whatever, however high up you want to go. Now,
well, you know who
sorry.
You know who started that, don't you? The Bushes towards don't tell. Remember that? Yep. Don't tell.
That's what my husband said.
Just about the time that they wound up.
That was a mess.
Just about the time that they wound up getting rid of Colin Powell, and I think Colin Powell was a hell of a good 4-star.
What happened to that though? It was the whole don't say.
He was objectionable to the Iran and the Desert Storm and Desert Shield and the Afghanistan war, and he spoke up against it, and because of it, they can't even never did hardly hear nothing about him no more.
Of course.
And that's the way they'll do you. If you speak your piece.
That's what I mean.
If you speak your piece,
to be the no voice.
But we're supposed to be democracy like to where we got freedom of speech, freedom of religion. Yep. You may as well throw that shit down the road somewhere, especially if you're in a high ranking position.
That's almost the biggest lie we have in our country.
Exactly.
I feel like it's one of those where they can hype it and say, well, you had that right, but not really.
But this is what stonewalls me, is that they was after my ass from basically 1983, whenever I made a telephone call in Lucille Jordan's house after a 1979 Buick Regal rolled over on top of me, and a miracle took place in my life towards God sparing my life. Not only did I see a physical miracle pertaining to feeling 2 hands that grabbed both of my wrists that I couldn't see, but I could tangibly feel. Yeah. And as the asphalt hit the back of my back, I looked up at this 4,000-pound automobile, 1979 Buick Regal with a V6 turbo in it, come crashing down on top of my torso that should have cut me completely in half. But it didn't. I seen metal bending around my body that is scientifically impossible.
Wow.
It does it.
Fall detection canceled.
Thank you. All right. Anyways, this is a alert thing. In case you fall or whatever. Insurance pays for it.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Yeah.
Might as well. They're raping you anyway.
Well, not only that, but if somebody decides to want to freaking roll you or something, maybe you can hit the button before and kind of freak them out and say, wow, this guy's he's with the pigs or something. he's bugged or something. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Anyways, it's where was I at with my conversation?
So, with the fall, you had Bettlemen around you.
Right. Anyways, the boy that was driving the tractor, it was a kind of a freak accident. He wound up pushing the car up enough that I wound up coming out from underneath the car. And they went ahead and called an ambulance out there, even though they didn't see no lacerations and no broken bones. The ambulance attendant come out there and looked at him and said, well, I think he's going to be all right, but he's unconscious, talking about me. And on the way to the hospital, I flatlined. From Cydonia to Martin, which is less than about 8 miles, I flatlined in between there. And whenever I got into the hospital room, all my veins had sucked up and collapsed because I'd bled out from the inside out and they didn't know it. and they had to cut into my right ankle to start pumping blood back into my leg. I woke up probably about 45 minutes later with a doctor from India looking at me, pressing on my stomach, said, "You got a problem in here. You got a problem in here. We're going to have to operate."
Oh boy.
So he did detect that there was a problem because he seen the red scar where the metal was.
Yeah.
But he noted I was bleeding out somewhere and it had to be right there.
Okay.
So he cut me from stem to stern,
Oh.
opened me up, took out all my intestines, and it basically blowed out my spleen.
That's what I figured. Yeah. If you popped your spleen, that'd be it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yep. So I was lucky that I
You
lived.
still got lucky though.
I was lucky that I lived. It was to me it was a miracle.
How'd you have this accident?
It was a miracle on the front. That accident happened in 1983. It was a miracle that the hands come out of nowhere, that it didn't cut me in half, and it was a miracle that there was a woman in surgical surgery towards having a baby, that they was already scrubbed up, had the nurses and already there, and it was a miracle that the doctor successfully operated on me, that took out my intestines and then poked them back up into me, and I lived. All right, he did 64 staples up and down my belly, grabbing both pieces of meat and pulling them back together again.
Wow.
2 weeks after that, my doctor committed suicide. 2 weeks after that, I had nowhere to live other than going back to my dad's property. My dad and my mother had already went through a divorce, but she was kind of making up with him, and she was living over there in his house over there, that my dad, his mother's house. And basically, the devil was coming at me every which way but loose. And if it wasn't for his brother, I think Dad would have finished me off that night, because me and him got into an argument over a telephone call of all things, and he literally flew from the front of the kitchen like a witch, coming at me at least
He got mad at you boys,
at
though.
least 20, 25 feet, and he knew that I was a patient, right? I'm a patient.
Yeah, you're still healing.
Just
that
got
takes a while.
still healing.
Yeah.
I know that he was coming for this area, so the first thing I done, I fell on my knees and fell on my face and took my hands and blocked all that. And he was up on top of me, beating the crap out of my back of my neck, beating the crap out of the back of my back and stuff. And JW was there, his older brother, said, Bobby, you're gonna kill him. And finally, JW had to get up and drag him off of me.
I wouldn't doubt it. He was after Danny like flies.
Oh,
off.
yes.
I mean,
he was a madman whenever it come to his intolerable
he just
anger
took
management.
Nothing.
Well,
Yeah.
I think a lot of that come from World War II, because he had post-traumatic stress disorder and didn't even know it. And at that time, they labeled him as basically, labeled all of them as basically being shell-shocked.
Yes.
Is what they called it back then.
Yeah.
But he would flip just like that. If something went wrong, I mean, he would lose his handle.
I only seen him get mad once.
And you know the funny thing about it?
He was always nice to me.
The funny thing about it was, less than about 10 minutes later, he would calm down. He never would bring it back up again ordinarily. And he would say, "Oh, I'll take you down. Let's go down to the store. I'll buy you a cold drink and candy bar," trying to make it up.
Yep.
In other words, his personality would flip. Dr.
Bipolar
Jekyll
a little.
and Mr. Dr. and wanted to accuse me of being bipolar, right?
Of course.
Wanted to tell me that I was bipolar.
The kettle black. And
because the day whenever he done that, JW had to pull him off, his brother. The next day, I walked down to Miss Lucille's. I didn't have no car, so I had to walk. I had to walk all the way to Kenton. I made a telephone call to the White House.
That's a long walk into town.
It is a pretty good walk. I made a walk to the White House, and I told them, I said, I'm going to be the one to meet the Antichrist, and before the poison arrow strikes the flesh of my skin, I'm going to vanish and disappear. That's whenever every molecule in my body is going to be changed from mortal to immortal. Gable's going to blow the trumpet. The dead in Christ is going to rise. Christ is going to come back pertaining to the global first resurrection, pertaining to the second coming of the Lord, and we're all going to go to heaven. And I hung the phone up. Okay. Hung the phone up, didn't tell nobody that I'd made that telephone call, and went from there to the police station in Kenton and was going to make a report.
Okay.
Well, I did make a report, but it wasn't a report like you would think it was going to be a report, because Damian Cross was the mayor at that time, and we're somehow another kin to him on the Jordan side.
Okay. We got some cross in there.
Oh, yeah, we got some crosses in there. And there was a guy working there, and the first thing he thought that I was drinking. He said, "You mind if I do a blood test on you?" I said, "No." Showed up 0.
Of course.
Showed up 0.
Huh.
Well, he knew my mom and dad, and he knew my dad had a problem. But rather than approaching the situation like it was his fault and I was a victim, in their mind's eye,
You were just like him.
I was the problem.
Yeah.
I was the problem. So they locked me up temporarily, restrained me for about 3 or 4 hours, and next thing you know, they have a town hall meeting.
Oh boy.
A town hall meeting around a big table with the mayor, the assistant mayor, 2 or 3 other deputies, 4 or 5 other people with my parents there and me.
Wow.
And when it was all said and done with, after I got through telling them about the Antichrist, about the New World Order, about the 4 horsemen, about the 2 witnesses, all the things that the Bible talks about that's going to occur in the last days, you know what they said? They said, Juby, we think there's something wrong with you, man.
Oh boy.
We think you're touched. In other words, at that point in time, I was the bad guy, and what they should have done is put handcuffs on my dad for attempted murder, because you don't treat a patient like that.
Or a son.
Or a son that way, unless I had a knife or a gun, or unless his life was in peril. And it wasn't. I didn't have no knife. He was the one that attacked me. He was the one that attacked me. And the next thing you know, what did they do? They marked me. You know how they marked me? They said, if you don't go to Bolivar and get checked out to have a evaluation done, have a psychiatric evaluation done, we're going to force you to go.
Yeah.
So you know what that done? That marked me.
Of course.
Because I had never in my entire life went to a psychiatric ward, much less been evaluated. And if anybody needed to be evaluated, it was James Robert Jackson, our dad, that mistreated us the way that he did throughout the years, that just about nobody down there Hop-In would fight in our defense. And they know that stuff was going on, because it wasn't just going on in behind the 4 walls. It was going on in the open public.
It was.
It was going on open public. And out here in Tennessee, they're about 20 years behind everybody else anyway. And they was letting that stuff go.
They were. Yeah. No, I seen him. He flew up one day because Danny drove him up.
Yeah.
So he comes in, and we were living in the.
That was a double-edged sword, because it was Dad that drove Danny off into alcoholism. It was Danny that thought that he was going to use alcohol for an escape or a savior, and the more that Danny drunk, the more that the hops was causing his body to deteriorate and have sores and all over it and stuff. So Danny went through a cruel death.
He did.
A cruel death.
Yeah, it was bad. There at the end, I know. But he flew in one day because him and Jude hung out on the weekends and were drinking at my brother's.
Jude's done got weird, hasn't he?
I have not heard from Jude since we left Missouri.
Well, the only time that he showed up was a couple of days after Johnny died.
Did he?
Yeah, after your brother died.
I mean, I get it. Sometimes it's nice for us to be able to separate ourselves from family.
But hadn't Donna done the same thing?
Donna doesn't speak to anybody.
That's what I'm saying. We got a weird family. And you know what caused that division? I think it was what Charlie got into, because the only way that Charlie got out towards serving basically 4.5 years
is funeral.
that
you didn't go down to the
turn
funeral,
in
right?
state's evidence in Illinois and Chicago, and basically squeal on the mob. And they told him on the way to his cell, you're a dead you know what.
Yeah.
And from then on, he had to worry about not only himself, but the family being a hit, because you don't squeal off on the mob.
No, you don't. My mom got a lot of problems. I think the reason we stayed away, just our side of the family with my mom and us kids, is that her mom, my grandpa and grandma, right, the Jordans, they absolutely hated my dad. He was abusive to my mother.
Well, you got to also look at Donna's first husband. He was a weirdo. He was a freaking nut job. Yeah, he was a transistor guy, and at that time, that was considered very abnormal. Bad. We're talking about back in the 70s, right?
80s, but still, it was pretty bad.
I mean, he was putting on women's dresses and putting on makeup and the whole 9 yards.
He was 100% cross-dresser turned into a woman.
Exactly.
And she had 2 kids with him at that time. So, and it was like, that was just bad. So, I think it was weird, because my Aunt Donna seemed like she was living the better life than my mom of who they would want her to marry. And he seemed like a good guy at the time.
See,
they hated my dad.
I was getting it both ways. I was getting generation curses.
They pushed everybody out. Our families pushed all of us away.
I was getting generation curses because of the things that the Jordans had done, going back to the Indian DNA culture. I was also fighting with generation curses pertaining to our people on my dad's side, because it was my great-grandfather right down there less than a half a mile where I'm living at right now, right there in Wheatley County, that basically was a town merchant at that time. Everybody was getting around a horse
Yep.
and buggy. His wife was a midwife, and they sold drugs back then because drugs was legal to sell, pharmaceutical
Sure.
drugs, because he could read prescriptions and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a main pillar of the asset to that community, and he actually started working for the state of Tennessee temporarily towards going around being like a duty-ator, because at that time the state of Tennessee really hadn't got formed real good. They were still colonizing, right?
Yeah.
Pertaining to statehood, right?
Oh yeah.
And basically he ain't no telling how many freaking people. Now, of course, the majority of them was black, because back then
Of course.
they was very, very prejudiced because of that
yeah.
seed that Nathan Bedrick Forrest had planted pertaining to the Civil War. Going back to, I don't see how in the world that they could actually look at a black person towards a black person being a monkey or ape, but they actually did.
No.
They actually did. They thought that they thought
That's
that those.
just ignorant. That's like how people nowadays state that they don't know what misogyny is, or they're just completely oblivious to the obvious
So
thing.
did they
And
really
it's like,
know that they was doing wrong? I think deep down inside they did.
They did.
I think deep down
They
inside
didn't
they
want to admit
did.
it. Yeah.
That's kind of like
It gave them the excuse they needed to
Right,
live with it.
right. And the bottom line was this: the South felt like that the biscuit had been jerked out of their mouths because it was well common that the
You
North,
know what I can't
the
stand
North
about
had become
slavery, though?
predominant. The North had become predominant because they had 3 times more
yeah.
more slaves up north, and they'd done already legalized slavery in 2 different states. So it wasn't over legalizing slavery. It was basically over state rights. It started the conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like what we're doing right now up there in the White House.
Yep.
It started a conflict that wound up turning into an all-out and out brawl that wound up turning into a damn war. And that's what I'm afraid going down those same traits could actually occur.
It can. And it's proven.
And it wasn't until
history
it
repeats
wasn't
itself.
until about halfway, whenever Lincoln realized that
He had
King
no choice. He
King
had
George
to do that.
III was looking down his back, wondering how come you people over here massacring one another, acting this way. And that's whenever they had to come up with something, and that's whenever they said the freeing of the slaves. That's whenever the slave man come into it full force at that
Of
point in
course,
time.
he had to. He had no choice.
Up until that time,
he had to.
But that's not
He got
what.
him killed.
But that's not what costed Abraham Lincoln his life.
I feel like it was.
You know what? No, that's not what cost him his life. You know what cost him his life? Whenever he gave the black man the right to vote.
Okay, I'll agree with you on that one.
Less than 72 hours later,
Yep.
that man was dead.
It was. Yep.
That's whenever he went over the line.
The whole situation.
That's when the whole situation. But like
They
I
said,
said, the South.
You're dealing with South that's used to that.
The South looked
I heard
at that.
a not so good joke, but kind of funny for the South, But they said, we want our people want money back, right? The black people want money. People.
What they want?
They want what
two
is it? I
two
can't
mules.
think of the
and,
word.
2 mules and what 5 acres or something like that.
So, and the white man's over here complaining. They're like, well, we want our damn money back too. We lost a perfectly goddamn good slave. We're out a lot of money.
Well, the South seen that it was an infliction that fell upon to their livelihoods, because it was as if the North could do it and get away with it,
Yeah.
and now all of a sudden the South can't.
No,
And whenever you're talking about people's lives, that's whenever they rose up.
it was.
They rose up, but the bad thing about
black
the
people
South,
got it
the
wrong.
South wasn't quite as organized as the Union, the
No.
North, and
I
that's
really
what
don't
basically
know how we failed.
that's
that.
what costed them. That's
Yeah.
what costed the war.
Yep.
Have you ever thought
Well,
what?
think about it. We're what? We're hillbillies. We're rednecks. We're
damn
Southern,
Yankees because
yeah.
we were born up north, or you was born in the South, and I was born up north.
Were you?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I was born up in north of Chicago.
Oh yeah, Mom too. Y'all were all born out of Chicago.
Well, Danny was. Douglas
most of our
wasn't.
family came out of
And
Chicago,
David was. Yeah, most of our family come out of northern.
which
yeah.
is weird because we all reside in Tennessee.
Well, that's what they consider damn Yankees.
Yeah.
Yeah, a Yankee is somebody that comes down south and goes back.
Yeah.
But a damn Yankee is somebody goes down south and don't ever go back.
Don't ever go back. Yeah.
Right, he's a damn Yankee. He's
yeah.
a damn Yankee.
But yeah, it's kind of funny because.
But that's all
down
that
here-
Civil War crap, and that
It
still
is.
stuff still lives even to this day, pertaining to segregation and looking down
feel
on
like
the
some of the
blacks and
blacks
all
are
this
wrong.
other stuff. That stuff, and you got to look at it from a different perspective. It's just as much the black being prejudiced against the white as it is the
Yes.
white being against the black. Because I guarantee you, I went into places down in Memphis, Tennessee, nice restaurants where you've been waiting for like 30 minutes, and you're the next one up, right? You and your husband and your family, and you know that you're the next table, but
Yep.
yet no, a black couple will come in and all of a sudden they'll set them before they'll set you.
Yep. Yeah, it's completely flipped.
So you see that in the opposite direction towards, and the
they get the free
the
handouts.
beast still lives.
100%.
And you didn't see that out west, or
No.
I didn't. Did you?
Nope, I grew up in California, so guess what?
I didn't see that out west.
Nope, not at all. But down here, you sure did.
So basically, whenever I went out to Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and I done what I done toward being a whistleblower, I should have actually got a medal over that.
100%.
I should have got a medal over that.
But you know, will our government let you have a voice?
But because it happened to the Indian territory land,
yeah.
and because I'm confessing to have Cherokee in me pertaining to my genealogy,
Sure.
oh, piss on him. We'll just, it's kind of like, I heard a thing on Coast to Coast. You ever listen to Coast to Coast?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I was listening to Coast to Coast last night, and he was talking about a thing over there in, I guess it was in Africa, where this tribal people got 70 people and Christians, and basically cut their heads off.
I wouldn't doubt
And it don't never hit the news. You know why? Because it's old school. It's the type of people we don't want to hear about it.
Cover all that up.
Yeah, cover
don't
all
make it
that
important.
up. Kind of like
you know what they want to spin up is the fake drone news, and what's going on with those when that was really our government just distracting us somewhere.
That's right.
Instead of the real news.
Instead of the real news, just like the drone or the balloon that flew over, they should have knocked that. They should have knocked that out of the sky before it ever got to the northern coast up there. But they did.
Oh, and they finally, Trump said he was going to release what they found with that. So I think he's going to be dropping that.
I think Trump's playing both ends, and I hope that he knows what he's doing, because he's stepping on a lot of toes right now.
Yeah, and if he releases too much, that's going to piss off a lot of the government.
Well, not only that, but he could cause a conflict up there in the White House, just like there's been conflicts before. I mean,
think he went in this 4 years.
Whenever JFK got assassinated down in Dallas. Do you not think that Homeland Security pertaining to Secret Service already know that was coming down the pike? Sure they did.
100%. Of course.
Sure they did. That was an inside job.
Even the attempted assassination attempts against Trump during the election, the government. We knew that.
It was too careless. It was too gross negligence.
It was.
Too gross negligence. I mean, you're going to have a cop come up on a building and see the shooter
Yeah.
and then go back down the ladder?
And then take the fall guy as some teenage kid who was actually Republican, but not really. Yeah, no. Yeah, our government just lies to us.
All the time.
Yeah. And all we can do is live
caught
through
up
it.
with them.
And what can we do? It's like I've heard so many, my husband has even said, if enough people will stand up and do something, they'll do it. But guess what? There will always be the person who won't.
It takes force to change.
It does.
And if you get to looking, even whenever they started putting up barbed wire, that caused an uproar.
It does.
Have you ever read about the C&O Canal?
Oh, yeah.
That caused wars.
It does.
Because at that time, that was their livelihood, and here come the Iron Horse pertaining to the train, and that they was having to improvise, and people don't like to improvise.
No,
Once they get seated, they want to stay there.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So what Elon Musk is doing, I think, is a good thing, because it's bringing it all out to the table. Just like what Trump said, that in Canada, there's no American banks allowed up there.
No, but we can have theirs in our country.
Right. I didn't know that. See, I work for an outfit called Gerber Collision and Glass,
Okay.
which is a well-known body shop franchise all over America. They started out in Canada, and their headquarters is in Chicago. Well, I was working for them at the time in Kennesaw, Georgia, and the boss man found out about all that junk online pertaining to what was typed up about me in a not an authentic way, but an unauthentic way, towards basically gossip.
Sure.
You know what he done?
Huh.
He gets on his airplane and he comes to Georgia. And he personally looks at me and says, "You get your fucking shit off my property or you will be arrested." I said, "How in the hell am I going to get my stuff off the property?" He said, "I don't give a shit." He said, I'll call up a record right now to have your shit off of here. He said, "We're not going to have nobody like you working for us." So that costed me my job, and I couldn't tell you how many times that I've been booted from one dealership or one predominant body shop to another. Now, I could have always went out here and worked for a Julio.
Sure.
but you ain't going to get no benefits, and plus you ain't going to know from week to week whether or not the money's going to be good.
Exactly. There's
and
no
besides
security.
that, you don't never know if somebody's going to steal all your freaking tools while you're gone.
That too.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, we want our security when we gain employment.
They basically ruined my life because of what I went out there and done in Oklahoma. The thing about it is, what I done in Oklahoma, I was covering my tracks toward what I'd already done in Mount Carmel, Waco, Texas. I went to Mount Carmel, Waco, Texas, and stayed on the property for 3 days and 3 nights.
Mm-hmm.
After all that hullabaloo had went over, after the guys had already gotten out of prison, it was in there for about almost 20 years.
Yeah.
And I interviewed them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I sat down and I talked to them.
Wow.
And then I went on excavation and went a 5-mile radius and went to every house that I could that would talk to me. Most of them wouldn't talk to me. Most of them had gates telling me something pertaining to why does everybody got gates?
Sure.
You know, a gated community
Yeah,
out in the middle of nowhere.
Why you think?
So the ones that I did talk to, they was scared to death. Basically, they said, yeah, the government just freaking killed them people, and they did. What actually occurred is I pinpointed it down. They wanted to say that it was the Davidians that caught themselves on fire.
You want another drink, or you good?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
It wasn't the Davidians that caught themselves on fire. It was the tear gas. Did you know that they pumped over 6.5 hours over almost 200 canisters of lethal tear gas? There's 5 different types of tear gas. 2 of them you can use inside. 2 of them you can use on women and children.
Okay.
But the other 3, you never use them on women and children, and you never use them inside. Well, they confessed at the White House whenever they had court on that stuff pertaining to Janet Reno that the tear gas that they was using was lethal tear gas.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Let me tell you, when I got the stories from my Marines.
All right,
that said
listen to
how
this.
bad they
Listen
are.
to this. Those women had to have an area to be able to take care of them children, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their electricity had been unhooked from day one. The 51-day standoff. So they had to either have candles or coal oil lamps that was producing light. And as soon as all that gas kept going and going and going and got down there where it was, it turned it into a tire inferno. And if you really get to looking at the fire itself, it started almost like a sparkler. You know, you've seen a sparkler at 4th of July, the way it sparkles.
Yep.
It was almost like a sparkler. It started on one end of the building and went, and in less than freaking 45 seconds, the whole freaking building was on fire.
Oh my gosh.
It basically just turned that building into a tar inferno. And there's no doubt that David Koresh, they found a bullet in his head where he had committed suicide, or somebody, I think he shot his wife or somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, whenever you know that something like that's going on, you're going to try to get out of there as soon as you can.
Out. Yep.
They basically drove them people to that.
Yep. Yeah. No,
you know why I say that they drove them people to that?
Things.
If they'd have just waited a few more days, they was already out of supplies. It was just a matter of time before they was going to come out with their hands up.
100%.
Besides that, David Koresh, the idiot that was in all that stuff, which was no doubt a nut.
Oh yeah.
He was always leaving that compound and going and getting supplies either at Lowe's or stuff like that. So if they wanted to just get him and him alone, the leader, they could have got him.
100%.
They could have got him. And come to find out, it was people working for ATF, Alcohol Tobacco, that was across the road, set up as college students. The whole time they was plotting, and they was the ones that basically trained them how to go down to the Mexican border, get a bunch of guns, and turn a semi-automatic rifle into an automatic rifle, which is basically a machine gun.
Yep.
And the only reason why that they got the warrant, a no-knock warrant from a federal judge, is because over Internal Revenue Services, they wasn't paying a certain particular tax on that particular gun. So it didn't have nothing to do with pedophile. It didn't have nothing to do with nothing else. It had to do with monetary money. Those people died because of money.
100%.
And the fact of the matter is, ATF went in there and done such of a sloppy-ass job on day one, lost 2 or 3 agents and shot 2 or 3 of their guys that started the 51-day standoff. That's whenever the FBI took it over. And then the FBI made just as big of a damn headache as what the ATF
it was
did
just a mess.
there towards the end.
Yeah, all of it. The whole thing.
So,
it was all about money.
So it was Timothy McVeigh that was down there that during that whole charade that basically went and got up a bunch of bumper stickers and started passing them out. Do you trust your government now? Do you trust your government now?
Yep.
And between him and Nichols, they started plotting how that they was going to retaliate against what had went on, because at that time, because it was such of a high velocity case, they moved the headquarters with the feds up to Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and it was Oklahoma City, Oklahoma that was taking the orders from Janet Reno from the Washington, D.C. towards turn the lights up, turn the lights down, turn the music up, do this, do that.
Yep.
So what actually occurred, I can't prove it, but it's as a theory as anybody else, because they have already done changed their concept about the Oklahoma
100%.
bombing. I feel like in the 51-day standoff, long about the 40th day, somebody got on the horn and said, you know what, this is really making us look bad.
Yep. Oh, 100%.
We're going to have to stop this one way or the other.
So
I think that somebody from Oklahoma, one of the federal agents, probably grabbed up about 2 boxes of dynamite that was already made up, brought it into the building, which you're never supposed to put explosions where open population, especially children, ever, and put it in a room and said, well, this is what we're going to do. And at that point in time, it went from a rescue mission to a doomsday mission, and they knew probably
was a cover their
within
own
the 40th
ass.
day. Within the 40th day, they knew that every individual out there was going to die.
Yeah.
In Waco. It just so happens they got lucky with the tank, driving the hose off, and they got lucky by pouring that much tear gas in there with their and you know good and well somebody had to sit down and think about this, knowing good and well that those women had to be taking care of them kids. They got to have some sort of light down there.
Do you think they really care about us though?
Huh?
They don't really care about us though.
No.
That's why they can.
Well, the whole scheme of the matter is ATF was wanting to showboat. ATF was wanting to showboat towards taking them all down versus only taking one person down. See, and that right there in and of itself is an entrapment.
100%.
And you know, in some states, entrapment's illegal.
Oh, but yeah.
In some states, entrapment is illegal. And really and truly, what should have happened? They should have arrested them freaking people down there that done that shit down there in Mount Carmel, Waco, Texas.
Yeah.
Because it costed the lives of 168 people the day of the Oklahoma bombing. The thing about the Oklahoma bombing, whenever that bomb went off, that was in that Ryder truck.
Oh, yeah.
That was supposed to be basically cow shit and fertilizer.
Yep.
Ammonia nitrate.
Yep.
Whenever that bomb went off, all the debris went back from the building back towards the van. And theoretically, that's impossible.
See, science sometimes
That's
works.
impossible. Plus, I got to looking at it even deeper and come to find out there was 2 seismograph Richter scale readings that same day. One in Norman, one in Edmond, which is 20 miles apart, and both readings was identical. The first reading was like a 2.7.
Okay.
And the second one was like a 4.3.
Wow.
It was that second one that got it.
Wow.
That dynamite that was stored in that building never got out of that building. And dynamite, if you know anything about mixing up dynamite, TNT, after you mix it up, you're supposed to either dissolve it or blow it up or do something with it, because it basically goes through an infernal type like wine, and it goes and the moisture that you see on those wax sticks, that ain't moisture.
No, it's the chemicals breaking down.
That's right, but it turns into what? Nitroglycerin. That means if you had a stick of it in your house and somebody slammed the door,
all it has to do is shake.
That's right. All it has to do is shake.
That
means
unstable.
explosion 1 caused explosion 2 to go off, and whenever that dynamite went off in that building, it literally ripped that building apart from the inside out and took all that debris and took it back in the opposite direction towards where the Ryder truck is, and that was scientifically impossible. I caught it. My eye caught it, and I went down there and put my finger to it, and to this day, I'm still being punished on account of it.
Oh my goodness.
I'm still being punished on account of it. In other words,
you know why?
Because
you can't have a voice.
Because that happened to me, it literally drove me off into an early retirement.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because I had every hothead agent and every hothead judge that was basically gunning for me. They was on a witch hunt. Donald Trump talks about a witch hunt, in which they was on a witch hunt for that man. They was out to do that man in.
Yeah.
I mean, we seen what went on in New York pertaining to a case up there, which there's no doubt he probably had something to do with having sex with that woman.
Sure.
But she must have liked it because she didn't turn it in. She didn't turn him in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then wait, 12 years later, and all of a sudden you're gonna Oh, he raped me. Well, statute of limitations. We got you're not supposed to go back beyond those statute of limitations.
Years and years later.
Exactly.
Oh, you're somebody now? You got
Everything
some money now?
has a statute of limitation to it, regardless whether it's a misdemeanor crime, regardless whether it's a felony or whatever. And really, murder does not have a statute of limitation to it.
Not. Yeah.
At all.
No.
And the only thing that compares with a murder rap, you know what it would be? As far as time-wise, other than terrorism?
Something to do with children, probably.
Nope.
No? What's that?
Art.
Huh.
Art. You steal a large piece of art that's worth a lot of money, you get automatically 10 years. Art. Once more, it's all surrounding the money. Well, I seen this thing on Facebook the other day. Yeah, well, it's true.
I would think pedophile
it's
or
true.
something.
I seen this thing on Facebook the other day. They said he was saying something about robbing the bank. He said, well, if you go in and rob, what was it? If you go in, something about if you rob the bank, you get 10 years. But if you make the money illegally, like counterfeit, you automatically get 20.
Yeah.
So which is cheaper? Hell, just go in and rob the bank.
Yeah.
Hold the bank up.
Might as well.
Take that money and bury it real quick.
No kidding.
And then come back 10 years later and dig it up and enjoy yourself.
No kidding.
So our laws is so screwed up that way.
It is.
And whenever they get to talking about a two-tier system, I think it's more than a two-tier system. I think it's a three-tier system.
Yeah.
And you know where the third tier comes in at? People like us that can't afford good representation.
No.
And we got to depend upon the public defenders to protect us.
Who don't really have our best interest at heart.
Not at all.
No, because our wallets aren't
a matter of fact, I had Tanya
like
Flemings. Tanya Flemings, a defender that was assigned to my case in Cadiz, Kentucky. The last time that I wound up getting in trouble in Kentucky, I was in Oklahoma at the time. Done already fought all that and won all that. Here I am working. Done already renting out a 3-bedroom house. All of a sudden, I go to jail over 2 non-threatening telephone calls, 1 to 5 years per telephone call pertaining to stalking. Now they transfer me from Oklahoma all the way to Cadiz, Kentucky, and they downsize the charge to a federal charge, to a state charge, and in the meantime, put me through the ringer towards going to the state psychiatric community up there in LaGrange, Kentucky, and put me on Risperdal. That made me go from 240 to 340 in less than 5 weeks.
Holy good God.
Because the extra weight on the old injuries, I'd already had my right ankle fused 1979 whenever I fell off that 4-story building.
Yeah.
Because the extra weight, it caused the gristles to start rubbing the leg bone against the ankle bone and ankle bone against the foot bone. Yeah, the joints. And the next thing you know, I had to have this freaking ankle fused last year, and it almost took a whole year to get over that. You know what? You know what the freaking insurance company was out? You ain't gonna believe this. right at $490,000.
Holy good God.
Because I had difficulty with a soft tissue infection. Had to go back to the hospital. They had to go in there and do a clean out. They said to do a clean out, and then they x-rayed everything and looked at everything, fine-toothed everything.
Sure.
And then still that didn't fix it. So they wound up eventually having to put a vacuum pump on me.
Okay.
And I had to walk around with a vacuum pump for about 4 months as it was draining all that stuff out of that wound
it all out.
before it finally healed up.
Oh my gosh.
Uh-huh. So that took about a year. But that was because of what they done to me up in Kentucky. Over 2 non-threatening telephone calls. Anyways, it was Miss Flemings that walked in there to me the first time I ever seen her. She said, Mr. Jackson, she said, right here is the 2 telephone calls that you made, word for word, what was said, because each time that you said it, it was on a recorded line, regardless whether it was a recorded line coming from LBL, the law enforcement, or coming from Mr. Hawkins' cell phone. She said, there's nothing in here pertaining to you threatening nobody. As a matter of fact, it was in an apologetic form. She said, what they need to do is let you go. She said, if anything, this is double jeopardy because they'd already done went after you one time before up there in 2010 whenever they shut down a Kentucky dam just because I was trying to tell them people that God had showed me that there was going to be major electrical disturbances. This was in 2007. And you know what? First of all, that same summer, there was major electrical disturbances because it became a major drought to the point that the Appalachian Mountains caught on fire. The Okeechobee almost dried completely up. and the Tennessee River got so hot and got so dry they had to shut down a couple of the turbines in Alabama, and plus the lake in Atlanta, Georgia got so dry that the governor went out and asked for people to pray because he thought that they was going to have chaos.
Yeah.
Total chaos because their water system was drying up. And you're talking about Atlanta, 5 million people.
Wow.
So there not only was electrical disturbances that year that I told them it was going to be electrical disturbance, but the following next year, in January 2009, it come a major ice storm up in Kentucky, about 4 inches of freaking ice. And it basically, you couldn't have taken a knife and cut it no better between the state line, between Kentucky state line and Tennessee state line, and basically caused I mean, it looked like a freaking bomb blowed up in all the TVA lost several towers because the towers couldn't hold all the freaking ice, and it took some of them people was out of electricity almost 90 days. So what I done, I go to Grand Rivers, right?
Yeah.
I quit my job. I go to Grand Rivers, Kentucky.
Okay.
I get a chainsaw. I've already done some free humanitarian work as far as working Katrina. Yeah. Whenever Katrina hit in the late fall of 2005. Okay. So I go up there in Grand Rivers. It's cold. It's below zero. I'm getting in goods with the chief fire department, sleeping with them, eating with them, going out and doing things with them, going knocking on doors, filling up generators, the whole 9 yards. And about 5 days into that, they realized who I was. You know what they done? They run me out of Grand Rivers, Kentucky.
Of course they did.
They run me out of Grand Rivers, and I didn't know where I was at that particular time because it was late at night. So I wound up going to the far side of Livingston County, Kentucky. I get with another preacher. He lets me stay in the church that night. The following next day, 2 Livingston County police officers comes to where I was, and they explained to me, Mr. Jackson, you're going to get the hell out of this county right now. And if you don't get out of this county, you're going to regret it, and we're going to make sure you get out of this county because we're going to escort you out of this county, and whatever you do not come back. Did you know that that's illegal?
What?
To run people out of the freaking areas like that, unless you have a justifiable reason.
That's funny because my husband had the same thing happen to him.
But what they was doing, they was holding my feet to the fire like I was some sort of a homegrown terrorist, like I had purposely was going to cause an electrical disturbance to the degree that they actually shut down the Kentucky Dam up by Grand Rivers and was down there looking for freaking bombs for about 4 or 5 hours. Had it on PSD News.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Yeah, my husband had the same thing. The judge ran him out of because he was born and raised in Missouri.
Okay.
So
show me state.
Yeah, he's got his family's got good piece of property down there.
You can't be vocal. If you're vocal, you're an enemy to the government.
100%. So he already had a little bit of a record, but this is a little later. He's finally a little out of trouble, got a job, all that stuff. So and he's of age now. So because most of his stuff was when he was still a minor. So anyways, he joined the military. But the military shoved him out because he had a pair of balls, and one DI liked that, and the other DI did not like this.
Oh, yeah.
So they decided to roll him out on a medical.
They want people in the military to take orders.
Yeah. So he got rolled out.
They want you to be crazy, but not too crazy.
Yeah. But he had too much sense. Now, one DI really liked it, and they said, we need people like you. The other one did not.
I've been around people like that was spooky scary as far as them being smart. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about spooky scary.
Spooky scary.
And you could tell by what type of knowledge that they had.
100%.
That they was freaking, hey, you don't need to cross this freaking person, whatever you do.
Yeah. So anyways, my husband got his ID stolen in boot camp.
Oh. And
his ID was stolen. His identity was stolen. Somebody was writing bad checks in Joplin. Now his whole family's over near Jefferson, where Mom is.
Joplin, Missouri.
Yeah,
that's my
husband's family is where my mom is.
Okay.
That's why she's
Joplin,
there.
Missouri is where that tornado hit and wiped them out, about 70 miles long.
So, anyways,
that's Category 5. Okay. Category 5 tornado.
Local police pick him up in Lynn, right where my mom is.
Okay.
Right? Pick him up, and they're like, "Yeah, we
See,
know
I've been
this
to his
is
mother's house. I know his mama.
Oh yeah.
I've been to his mama's house.
Oh yeah, that whole area is where he grew
Is that
up.
the reason why he's kind of sensitive towards who he talks to and who he don't? He's kind of got a of protection, which I don't blame him. I do the same thing. I wouldn't sit down and talk to you. I wouldn't sit down and talk to a stranger like I've been talking to you.
No.
Come hell or high water.
No, your family though. Yeah, that's different.
Come hell or high water, I wouldn't do it.
No, I think anymore you do have to watch who you're speaking to.
You can't trust nobody.
You can't.
So what happened with all that ordeal?
So, anyways, they pick him up on writing these bad checks. Okay, so. And of all days, I think it was Mother's Day or something like that. And he was out going to get salad for his mom to make for Mother's Day. They pick him up on bad checks. My husband's brilliant. He's really smart, right? He's like, let me see these fucking checks.
And it wasn't
he's pissed,
and
right?
it wasn't even
so
him.
cussing.
And it wasn't even
him. He looks, well, they don't believe that because it's signed in his name, right? So he's like, let me see them. Let me see the checks then. Let me see it. They're like, fine, smart guy. Think it wasn't you, huh? Here it is. Yeah, see, you know you did it. And he looks and he's like, you guys are stupid. Beyond stupid. Look at the date and then run your system. I was sitting in your goddamn county jail the day this was written. You tell me how I did that.
Busted him. Busted him.
And he's like, now can I go home? Because sure enough, and they're like, well, I'll be goddamn, you were sitting in county that day. You couldn't have wrote no check from jail. Yep.
And it's got to the point today you almost have to document every move you make. You got to keep up with every receipt.
Who you speak
you
to,
got to
what you do,
everything. Because if you don't watch it, somebody will try to entrap you.
Because he already had a record as being a hellion as a kid.
Exactly.
They didn't care.
Did you know that
it was you?
Did you know that my whole neighborhood down in Hop in Sidonia turned against me because they had already categorized me towards me being the
100%,
monster?
yeah.
Towards me being the monster. Mm-hmm. And you know who was the monster? They was.
They are.
You know whenever it started? It started in 2005 whenever I was passing out Bible literature to a guy working in a teller. And I handed him some literature, and I told him, I said, there's going to be an explosion of controversy happening in my life, and I'm probably going to wind up on Channel 6 News. Well, this guy freaks out. He gets on the telephone, calls up some deputies. They come out there and review the tape. Said, yeah, we know who that is. That's Dennis Jackson. So they've done a thing and found out where I was working at. I was working in Carroll County at the time, up in Huntington. They jumped 2 county lines to come and get me. Did not have no supervisor that supervised the arrest coming from another county, and said, walked into the body shop while I still had Bondo dust and everything on, and arrested me, takes me back to the Martin PD, and interrogates me in front of about 8 or 10 freaking cops. What did you mean by this? I said, man, people use the word explosion all the time in a non-threatening way. Yeah. I said, you can have an explosion of Bermuda grass in your garden. I said, what are you talking about? I said, I didn't do nothing wrong. Well, they still went ahead and pinned it to me. It cost me $5,000 for a bond, cost me another couple $1,000 for attorney's fees, and was all said and done with. I got a divorce and wound up losing 5 acres and over $500,000 in profit sharing that rightfully belonged to me because of my wife. Wow. I literally had to move out of Weakley County, which is less than 35 miles from here, and moved to Davison County in Nashville, Tennessee, just to get away from the heat, because I know that they was on me, right?
Yeah.
Then Katrina hit. While I'm up there in Nashville, I'm hitting the churches, okay? Had no idea that I was being looked at in a negative way up there.
No.
Next thing you know, Homeland Security comes to my workplace because I had sent the 43rd President of the United States a t-shirt that read, "A bloody road ahead, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, the crown of thorns, the crown of life, of 1 drop of blood, of Jesus' blood washed away our sins," and sent it to the White House, right? Well, I didn't know after 9/11, whenever you send a package to the White House, it don't go to the White House, it goes to the nearest field office.
Sure.
So they come and gave me a visit while I was right there in downtown Nashville.
Oh boy.
Well, in the meantime, Katrina hit. Now I go to another facility working basically for the same guy, but he was just, spread out.
Sure.
And they called me up, said, "Hey, we got some questions for you. Do you mind coming up here to our headquarters and talking to us?"
Sure.
And like a fool, I said, "I don't mind."
Oh boy.
You know what they was doing? They was laying wait for me, because as soon as I got in there was a nurse in there that was working for Nashville pertaining to the crisis center, and she asked me about 3 questions, and within those 3 questions, "Yep, I think there's something wrong with it. Take him out."
Holy.
And the next thing you know, I spend the rest of the weekend in the freaking psychiatric ward being studied again, that they can't hold you for no less than 72 hours, or they're not supposed to, unless you are a threat to yourself or a threat to the public. once more, I had probably I probably had over $20,000 worth of work laying in the floor. 3 automobiles spread out, 3 big wrecks.
Oh boy.
And now I got to go in there and explain myself to my boss what happened. Yeah. And that's what I've been dealing with ever since I made that telephone call to the White House pertaining to the Antichrist. I'm telling you, my whole life got changed whenever I was in Miss Lucille Jordan's house and I made a telephone call. 40 years ago, it was 1983.
Don't you sometimes wish we could go back and just change one little thing?
Well, the thing about it is, absolutely.
Nice day to sit on the porch.
It is.
The thing about it is, the church world around there got to looking at what I was preaching and teaching, and it was too strong. Oh, we're not going to stand behind this.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I stood in front of Tommy Moore more than once, a judge in Weakley County, that basically told me and my brother both before he died, David. He goes, well, Juby, I've talked to several preachers around here about you, and they think...
Is that your nickname, Juby?
Yeah, Juby. He goes, they think that you're the black horse.
Mm-hmm.
I go, what do you mean think I'm a black horse? Well, they think that what you've been doing out here is a manifesto.
Yep.
A manifesto.
Yeah.
Kind of like the Unabomber. All of a sudden, I'm the bad guy.
You're
I'm
some
all
kind
of a
of
sudden a
terrorist.
monster.
Yeah.
And now, look what's happened 30 plus years later. The whole freaking thing is getting turned upside down. And as far as I'm concerned, it couldn't have happened to a better group of people.
Yep. Yep.
Boy,
No,
that sun feels good out here, don't it?
It's a nice day. I'm glad we got... with the tornado. You're not too far from here?
No, I'm
Where you're
35
staying?
miles from here in Weakley
Yeah,
County.
so
I'm
the
pretty close to where
siren-
Carrie Lee lives.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I know I'm not too far from Kenton, but the siren was going off over here. Okay,
Yeah.
so our phones go off, of course.
Oh, yeah,
because we're
oh,
gonna get the national emergency, right?
Well, it did flood bad.
So
It did flood bad.
oh yeah, it's already come down. It almost hit the top of the.
But I mean,
rocks
it
there.
took Reeves and the levee busted on it, and they had to evacuate the whole town over between Kenton and Union City, and it flooded also Clarksville. It flooded also again in East Tennessee. Have you ever seen such flooding in East Tennessee and Western
I have
North
not.
Carolina?
I have
It literally
not.
took whole freaking mountainsides away.
My gosh. Yeah, no, it was bad.
They're still working on
The rain
they're
was
still
coming
working on
down.
I-40, a major interstate, toward trying to put it back together again, where they can open up both lanes. It's still closed, or it was.
My
I don't know. It
gosh.
may not be.
Yeah, now that it's warmed up a little, it might be good. But yeah, so the siren's going
But-
off over here.
But I've never seen the weather become so violent.
I haven't either. I tell you, that was a weird one because it was just nonstop rain
And the
rain,
fires and the
ice.
fires that took out all of
California.
Malibu.
That's like, I swear, staged. They want more money from the government or something. I don't know what, but that whole state is just, to me, I am perfectly
You know,
happy if
California
California's
already had a homeless problem to begin with, right?
Oh yeah, bad.
Can you only imagine what it's going to be like another 6 months from now?
Well, all the rich people are going to be fine. That's just their
Well,
other homes.
but that ain't but like maybe what 2%, maybe 5%
Yeah.
out of that whole area.
yeah.
And the rest of them are just like me and you. They're
Yeah.
common people.
Some people have some normal homes there.
Thing
yeah.
about it is, a lot of those insurance companies had already
dropped them.
walked out and dropped them,
It
so
was
they don't have a
planned
bid insurance.
Well beforehand. This is the weird thing is the insurance companies because I heard on the news well before the fires had started that people were unable to get fire insurance because of California's history.
Uh-huh. Well, just
fire.
like they're walking out of Florida the same way with the
And sure enough-
hurricanes down there.
Yeah, and sure enough, people were having a hard time. Now, all these insurance companies, all of a sudden, all at the same time, just before
That
this
guy got shot.
major-
That guy got shot in New York.
and just before all these fires decided to just ravage California, and it makes you wonder, why?
It's a bigger plan than what we even think
Oh
about.
yeah,
You know,
but then we can even sure we can
something
guess this,
something
put
is
pieces
in behind
together.
all this.
The sad thing is I think that if any of us were to be able to get all the answers to all this craziness that we want, I don't know that I would want to know.
Well, Angela,
Because you know what it is?
Angela,
It's pure evil.
oh yes, it's evil.
And I don't
It's
want to
good.
know it.
It's got to the point that this planet ain't no longer hardly worth living in.
It's not. I'll be happy the day I go. I
Me
think
too.
I'm okay.
Me too. I don't want to.
Humanity is
I don't
a
want
sickness
to. I don't
anymore.
want to quicken my death. I don't want to enhance
I don't
my
either.
death.
I want to
But
live
whenever
as
it
long as
comes
I
time
can.
for me to die,
And I'll enjoy it.
hallelujah. Hey, don't
Exactly.
nobody cry over me. Matter of
No.
fact, rejoice,
Exactly.
because I'm no longer
Because
being
seriously,
tormented down here.
I know. Humanity has gotten to be a plague. the sickness.
It has, and
it's
since
getting worse.
COVID has hit, it has turned the freaking world upside down.
Way worse.
We ain't seen the full effects of that yet.
Yeah.
Just like 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
Guess who that was in behind 9/11? Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia. Yeah.
And guess what? I bumped into them people in Martin, Tennessee.
Sometimes I don't wonder if that one our own
on three
government
different
too, though.
occasions, and I was telling everybody the whole time in West Tennessee that was a biblical Bible prophecy of basically Satan.
That's Remy.
Of Satan
Boy.
in behind all that. And what did our Congress do? They put it under the rug, and they was going to hold Saudi Arabia liable towards every person that could prove that they had a human being in 9/11 that died during 9/11 that they could sue monetarily, money-wise, but we could not go after them pertaining to a war.
No.
And that's called justice?
Do we have justice in our country, though?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I think it's to whoever can make the most money.
Yeah, it's all about money. And if the truth be known, including Donald Trump and including Elon Musk, they're
all
up
of
there of an ego trip on power grab.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
It's a power thing. It ain't about money. It ain't about a reputation. I mean, they've already got an outstanding reputation. Both of them do, in a way.
Yeah. I'm tired
They're
of
already
that
in
we
the history
only have
books.
two choices when it comes to
They're already in the history books 100 years from now. People still going to be reading about them, right?
Yeah. 100%.
So what do they got to prove?
More money.
I don't know if it's money or power. Being in control of people's lives.
I think they both go hand in hand, right?
Being in control of people, kind of like a drug dealer. Hey, you know what? If I can get them hooked,
They'll come
next
back
thing
for
you
more.
know, they'll come back for more, and then I can
They'll
make
be
them.
begging
Then
for
I
you.
can make them turn somersaults and cartwheels for me.
100%.
So that in and of itself is an evil motive.
Oh yeah, the world is just riddled with it.
It is. ain't it?
Humanity is our
Well, listen,
biggest
I'm fixing to
flaw.
go visit Uncle Bill. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I'm sorry that I probably took the lead on everything.
No, it's fine.
But
it's
you
fine.
put in some pretty good information too about California and things that you went on with Julie and stuff. But getting back to your sister, I think what affected your sister is whenever she fell. I think it really and truly done something.
My sister has
Something.
The last time I haven't talked to my sister in a while.
Medically, it done something medically to her head.
Because if I feel that somebody is okay, there's a problem in our country, a fundamental flaw that mentally ill people cannot get the help that they need. We let it go, and you're not even allowed to really do anything about it.
That's right.
So, with my sister, with my whole family, my children, right, are home from boot camps, visiting, I mean, it's an exciting time, and I take them. We traveled all the way to California to see my oldest graduate from Marine Corps boot camp, my first child out of the house, and we're gonna stop and we're gonna see my sister and let them meet their aunt, see Nicole, see Lewis, see Marcos and Mateo. My husband's with me. It's great. We're in our RV. We're traveling. Our dogs, everything. And she's.
I know you love your sister.
I do. I love her to death. I looked up to her my whole damn life. But my sister has so many problems. I have no idea where to even approach.
But do you think that is all her fault?
No.
I'm looking at Nick.
But
I'm looking at the environment of where she was raised up at down in Southern California, and I'm also looking at the fall, and I really pity her. I feel sorry
because I
for
grew
her.
up with her, I can give you more insight.
Oh, I'm sure.
Okay?
I'm sure.
My mom and Julie never got along.
Oh, probably not.
My mom beat the hell out of my sister. Okay? My sister asked for it, though. Don't get me wrong.
Gotcha.
She can definitely come off as...
Provoked her. Provoked your mother.
Yeah.
Kept being hard-headed, whatever.
She'll play the part.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And she'll make you hit her. Okay? I've seen it.
She knows what buttons to press.
She does. And she will definitely push you over your limit. Okay? I've never gotten that mad at my sister to where I've ever wanted to do so. And then, on top of that, she grew up with, a mom that wasn't ever there. My mom also has some issues.
Oh,
okay?
yeah. Your mother and my older brother, they got some ties together. Did you know that?
I've heard the rumor, but I never believed it. Is it true or not?
It is.
Not your older. Well, the one that passed, right?
No, it was actually the older brother, but it was.
There's you and there's David and there's Danny.
It was
Douglas.
a rumor that Johnny could come from Douglas. That they matched.
And I'm not gonna lie, if you look at my brother and me and my sister, my brother has blonde hair and blue eyes.
I don't know.
And who had the lighter hair in the families? You guys did.
Douglas,
We had the
my
dark
two
hair.
older brothers had two. Well, both of them were redheaded, and the two youngest brothers was dark-headed, and it was based upon the gene pertaining to what gene was dominant. When my mother was young, my dad's gene was more dominant, and then whenever his gene went down, her gene was more dominant. She had because she was black-headed, and my dad originally was redheaded.
Not gonna lie though, I look a lot like my brother.
But there's a possibility that could have been a connection there.
It's possible.
Of course, Joanna ain't never going to admit to that.
My mom won't say that. My mom suffers from a lot too, though. My mom's got some mental health issues, and I know that.
She does.
And for me, I've had to take a little bit of a step back because for somebody who I question my own mental health in my side of the family because I've seen my mom suffer something. I've seen my brother go through bad addiction problems.
Exactly.
I've seen my sister go through addiction problems, severe alcoholism, severe whatever
and
she goes through.
Of course, Johnny got mixed up with the wrong crowd. You know as well as I do. And if the truth be known,
my mom
that
never
was
should have moved us.
That was probably intentional.
She never should have moved us to California because guess what happened? They both went downhill. I was so young. I have 7 years from my sister.
You're lucky that you come out as good as you did.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I ain't gonna claim to be perfect, that's for sure. But you know,
you're doing well. You ain't being
I'm not
handicapped in people's lives.
No, and I
This you're holding your own weight. You know what I'm saying?
It's so sad though because I want my family to be like this.
Absolutely.
Even my extended family, the people that I never got to know, I've always wanted it. We're a rock.
But,
our family's blood.
But you know what? I'm gonna say something to you. Your youngest brother, I was with him.
Or my older brother? Yeah.
No. Your younger brother, Jude.
Oh, my mom's brother.
Mom's brother.
That's
Jude,
my uncle.
Jude, your uncle. I was with him whenever he got baptized in the river. Whenever I was going down through there, probably along about 20 and 11, something like that.
Jude.
And did you know that he's flipped? And now he belongs to a secret society, probably the Wiccans. That basically pray to the devil and believe in the powers from the devil. Those people are all about money. The Antichrist that's going to come onto the scene, they're going to be very powerful people. They're not going to be poor Joes out here.
No.
They're going to be very influential, like Elon Musk or Donald Trump.
Birds
of a feather flock together, and they're basically going to wave the carrot in front of everybody. Come and get it, kind of like the banks. And then as soon as you take the bait, the next thing you know, they're trying to take your house from you.
Where is Jude?
He's supposed to be up there in Lynn, Missouri somewhere, but I wouldn't swear to it. He's liable to be down here in Kenton. I don't know. You know, Jude's another weird one. I mean, not Jude, but Shane's another weird one.
I tell you, Shane did things to me when I was a teenager, so he's weird. So yeah, he's one of those. He tried to. Supposedly there was rumors that he slept with Aunt Donna's daughter Rachel. And then there was rumors that, and sure enough, he tried to do things to me when I was down there.
I can't believe since Facebook and internet and all that stuff, I can't believe that incest is as open as what it is in some of these countries.
I think
it's so wicked. It's actually Sodom and Gomorrah, isn't it? I mean, you can look at porn, any type of porn you want to
online.
Online,
it's become so just gross, just so.
It is, but at the same time, it's become the norm.
It's the norm. You might as well. You look at any celebrities now. Why are they even wearing anything?
It's the norm.
You might as well walk around.
Did you know that they was making fun of God about a few hours before that fire set out down there in California, mocking God? Did you know that?
I wouldn't doubt it. People are so deranged and just like I said, the mental problems are getting so bad. I love my sister to death, but the problem we had when we went down there, she flipped out so bad. She busted a TV. My husband tried to talk to her and snap her out of it. She lost it. Nicole was so embarrassed.
Go get your phone, take a couple pictures of me, and I want to give you Uncle Bill's address the best that I can, unless you want me to drive you over there in my vehicle to show you where he lives. Like I said, he lives less than about 5 miles away from here.
Oh, yeah. No, if we get a chance to get over, like I said, we got all the dogs. It makes our situation a little harder.
I'd like for you to go over there and visit Uncle Bill, because that is your grandfather's brother that's still living, and for him to be almost 93 years old, that's
something.
That's a fluke.
It is something.
That's a fluke, really.
So,
I'd like to either draw it out, or I can take you over there and then bring you back, or whatever.
I'll message you here in just a few minutes. I don't usually answer the phone too much, just because I hate being on the phone too long.
I got you.
I will text though, and no problem. But if you want, when you, I'll text you, And maybe we can set up a day where you can maybe take me over, and then we can go and see him together.
He's retired. He has free time all the time.
Wow.
He's 93 years old.
93.
He's sitting around just being lonely.
Is he aware?
Oh, yeah, he takes care of himself, mows the yard, he does everything. He's had a little bit of trouble out of one of his eyes, but actually takes care of the neighbor's yard.
Seriously?
Yes.
My goodness.
Yes.
That's crazy. Well,
You know that we got Jesse James in our blood, right?
that's what they say. Yeah.
He looks a lot like Jesse.
Does he?
He
Yeah.
does. His features and stuff, his facial
Was he
features.
close with my grandpa? Were they close brothers?
The thing about it is, whenever Lucille was born, her mother died shortly after she was born. She wasn't but like an infant, like 2 or 3 months old.
Yeah.
And her original mother died.
Okay.
And they had another.
She was raised, yeah.
Yeah, she was raised up, and to this day we still don't know where she's buried at. I'm gonna go on a graveyard hunt. I'm gonna find out where she's buried at. I think she's buried at somewhere.
Lucille's
up there in Union
original
City.
mother.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Lucille's original mother.
Yeah.
I think it's
I'll
improper
look on my
not to know.
ancestry. It might have it because they have all the records.
It may do it.
I'm gonna look now that you mentioned that.
Now I did call you and left you a text. Did you not get it?
I did. I just got busy this morning.
I got you.
We're trying to get the boat a little bit more straightened up. We're going to be getting out of here once the weather. We're getting bad weather again come next week, so don't think this is staying. But
it's so unusual for you to be right here. Like I said, less than 5 miles from Uncle Bill, and you don't. You didn't went and seen him.
I didn't even know
You
he
need to
was
go
around.
visit him.
My mom's never told me anything about any of you guys.
Yes.
So the only thing she's mentioned was that our family is bad and we should stay away.
Well, I got to get my dog at 2:30. What time is it right now?
Yeah, what time is it?
I don't know. I can't
The
see.
sun's starting to get you too.
What time is it, anyways? I can't make it out. I don't know. Anyways, go get your camera. Don't you want to take a picture of me? I'll take a picture of you.
You want to take a picture?
Yeah.
All right, or you want to do that on a day we set up to go see Uncle Bill?
No, do it right now.
Okay.
Go get your camera and I'll take a picture of you. You take a picture of me.